What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're headed to NorCal Auto Styles to pick up a few parts for, I don't know, maybe that car too, but I'm definitely getting some parts for this car, something for this car, maybe that car. Let's hit the road. So I believe the last video you guys saw was putting the axle in the wagon. We got the car ready for Race Wars and it is tucked away for right now, and when we get closer to Race Wars we'll prep the wagon a little bit more. La Ponda, what a daily driver. Still slow as hell though. What the fuck is that? So I was just kind of back there hanging out with the guys, seeing what they're up to today, and I seen a couple of cars here. Like they got some customer cars here, and look at this one. Smurf blue EF hatch. I saw the side skirts and I was like, hold on a second, who car it is? It's a customer's car. It's here for some work, and apparently it's almost ready to rock and roll. It's got freaking brown interior. Like, when do you see that? I don't remember ever seeing a brown interior hatch. Well, I've seen it before, but a long time ago. Right hand drive one. This one I think is still, I mean, this one I think it needs to go to the blue tag. Caesar's race car, a bunch of other things. I'm gonna go look for some lug nuts and stuff. Beautiful hatch. Oh, because you're dual point too. Beautiful. I'll talk to you soon. This is what happens when you don't break in your clutch and you just go and beat on it right away. Yo, look at this. You're gonna have to tell the customer that they gotta break in the clutch, all right? Because this is ACT, yeah? Yeah. Oh man. So I've been hanging out here with the boys for about 4 hours now. It's just kind of how it goes down. So I just got my Broadway mirror and some new lugs for the KRX. I was actually hanging out here with Adolfo. I didn't really show his car because we were just kind of, I just met a new friend pretty much, and we were just hanging out, chopping it up. And then that white EF hatch you guys saw, hey, it was good. What's going on? I appreciate that, man. Yeah, it was good. Wonders, bro. I've been seeing your shit, man. So I got myself a Broadway mirror. It's funny, I just met some subscribers. These guys are here. They watch the channel, and that's pretty cool. But I just bought a Broadway mirror for La Ponda because this thing is so freaking small. Hard to see the quarter windows, right? So every single car that I drive or that I've owned, I've always had a Broadway mirror. I think I've had a smaller one than this, but I don't think this is too wide, 270 millimeter. And this is the flat one, not the concave one. I think it is the one that curves. But always had a Broadway mirror in my car. Actually, this is perfect, 270. And what I normally do with mine is I always kick the mirror out to the passenger side, towards the passenger side. I don't really need to see like my half because obviously I got this mirror and I can always look back. So this one, I just kind of kick it over a little bit, still be able to use the sun visor on this end, and I can see more of the passenger side. So 270 Broadway flat mirror. Oh man, that's such a big difference. So right now I'm gonna go ahead and just head back home, throw on the lugs, and show you guys the Auto X's on the KRX because I didn't record all that yesterday when I did it, and we'll talk a little bit more about it when we get home. That Broadway mirror, big difference. Love it. The all-wheel drive CRX has one. This car has one. I got like 3 broken ones in the back, and my sedan had them. So I have some Oteki SR35s, and normally I don't really like running colored lug nuts, but NorCal only had blue, purple, red, no silver. They had a black that was like a 48. It was super long, and it doesn't make sense to have that one because it'll stick out way past the spoke and the entire rim itself. So these red ones I had on the wagon back when I had the white Rega Masters with the red sticker, and they're just kind of like backup lug nuts, but obviously I'm missing so many of them that they're all like literally mismatched. So I got some new lug nuts for all of the wheels, and I'm gonna go ahead and just change them out now. But the thing is, I wanted to drive this car, but I learned some new stuff today about the speed sensor. The 02 to 04 draws different power than the 05 Plus. So it's not safe for me to drive right now with the VSS hooked up the way it is because it's drawing the wrong power. Big shout out to Carlos from CJSWIRING for enlightening me on this new info. So right now I think what I'm going to do to solve the whole entire situation with not having to do a speed converter or you know, all the stuff to make the 05 Plus speed sensor work in my car is I'm going to send my ECU in to upgrade from the V3 K Pro to the V4, because the V4 has the built-in speed converter, and also obviously allows me to have the Bluetooth. Going to the V4 K Pro also prevents me from doing the wiring of the speed converter, so I think I'm going to go that route. But for right now, I'm probably going to have to rob the ECU from the wagon to test this whole entire theory out, because the wagon does have a V4 in it. Big shout out to Honda for that one. But I'm probably gonna do that tomorrow because I got back super late today. It is still super hot. I'm sweating, and I'm not entirely sure why I drove the Honda today, because that thing doesn't have AC and the van was home. But it's nice to stretch the legs every now and then, right? I'm gonna use my impact to drive the new lug nuts in, and then I'm gonna torque it down with the wrench. So let's go ahead and swap these lug nuts out. Wow, the blue lug nuts look really good with the color combo of the car. Wow. Yeah, so guys, Auto X is permanently on the car, and I am really loving it. I would have loved the chromium Auto X's, it's kind of like the nickel finish on the 949 wheels, except those are hard to find. And because this is secondhand from somebody else and it was silver, I hopped on it and no regrets. So guys, yesterday I did a little bit of work on the car without actually recording anything. I just wanted to take a little break from the cameras. So yesterday I cycled the engine once more, and then I drained it out to put the new VR1 in it. The STP non-detergent oil that I ran in for break-in, when I drained it out, really clean, really clear. No metal or anything came out of it, thank goodness. But we have the new VR1 in it, full 5 quarts. And remember, when I go to the track again, bring extra oil. I hooked up the laptop yesterday to calibrate my TPS sensor. We got this working, cherry. I lowered the car a lot more. It was super high in the front, super duper high in the rear, and now we got 23 from the floor to the fender, 23 inches up, and then we have 23 3/4 in the back. I like my back a little bit more raked than the front, just for leveling out when the car is accelerating. And I think this stance right here looks freaking awesome. These are 15x7. I don't remember the offset. It's got 205 5015 Hankook Ventus V2 concepts, and I pretty much have these tires on all of my daily drivers except this car, because this one came with the tires already, with the exception of Chad adding 2 brand new ones on it, because I let him borrow these wheels for track when we went to Thunder Hill in 2020. So yesterday I jacked up the car to do the adjustment, and because I parked my cars so close to each other, it didn't even occur to me. So I jacked up the car, and this kind of wedged up against the 10mm license plate bolt for La Honda and gouged the bumper really deep. That's literally a freaking crater, and that's about 3 inches long. So I'm gonna definitely paint this car soon. I kind of spoke about it on Instagram a little bit. I want to switch the windshield out because it is cracked pretty bad, right? And if I decide I'm going to swap the windshield out, I am most definitely going to take care of all of the cancer that's underneath here, kind of how I did Leo's car. And obviously if I take care of that, I'm going to paint the car before putting the new windshield on. If you look at my windshield, this is how I got it. Look at all these little scratches on here. So I'm not entirely sure what that is. I do have a carbon fiber hatch for this car, so I'm not worried about trying to prep the rear hatch or anything like that. I do most definitely got to get the glass on the hatch to be tinted the same color, so it'll be tinted all around, or just do all brand new tint. But we'll get to all that when we get to it. So as far as today goes, like I said, went to NorCal, spent a lot of hours over there, got back, sun is almost down. tomorrow I'm going to borrow the K-Pro V4 out of the wagon to sort out the speed sensor situation. So we'll talk more about that when we do it. So we'll see you guys tomorrow.
This is on E26 on the E-plug. And if you buy most of the conversion harnesses that are set up for the K-tuner ECU, they have a VSS out that's hooked up properly to get back to your car's speedometer.
So guys, I've been doing a lot of research this morning, just really trying to understand the whole entire VSS versus CSS speed sensor conversion. And yesterday I spoke about what I had just learned, right? So let's talk about that right now. So this transmission is an 05 Plus. This is an 08 K20Z3 transmission. The 05 Plus transmission, they use a speed sensor in the front, which is read off the countershaft. And if you look down there, you can see the speed sensors up in the front, and I had to make a jumper harness to connect to my engine harness. Right now, the typical 0204 transmission uses the speed sensor in the back, which sits back here. If you have the 0204 transmission in an EF, you can use the single cam speed sensor and retain your cable. That's not the case here because I messed up that hole when I tried to modify it a couple years ago. And if you didn't modify it, you can't put a regular speed sensor in there anyways. So because I'm not using this back one, I'm using the front one, and there's a lot involved to make this work and be accurate to your cluster. So I'm gonna go ahead and explain to you guys what all you need to do to get that CSS to work with the ECU to work with this cluster. All right guys, so to my understanding, there's a few wires you have to do here at the ECU plug in order to run that countershaft speed sensor. So this right here is the C101 plug. It's the gray plug that connects the jumper conversion harness to the engine harness, right? And on the plug here, I don't remember what's top and what's bottom. I'm gonna say okay, well anyways, I'm gonna hold this plug with the clip to release on the top row. Third wire from left to right is a green white wire right here. Now as far as the VTech Academy video says to do is you have to depin this and tuck it away. Okay, depin this, tuck it away. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut it because I don't have another pin to go in that slot. So you have to have another wire in this slot or the existing white wire cut and run this slot on the C101 plug to B11. So on this white plug, you have to find B11 according to the diagram. Plug in diagram now. The slot is going to be empty, and then you have to put another pin into that in order to bridge B11 to the C101 plug here. I'm still scratching my head understanding the point of that. As far as I know, that wire is split into two for ECU and for cluster, and the reason why the cluster bounces all around is because it's reading the speed sensor already but not being converted over to the correct frequency, if that makes any sense. So you have to cut that wire apart to bypass the cluster part. So because this card came with a speed cable style cluster, I swapped it in EK, and when you do the EK conversion, you have to wire in the VSS signal, which is this wire here, right? Don't mind the color. This wire has to be bridged into I believe A18 for the VSS signal for the cluster to pick up on it. Okay, and like I said, I'm not entirely sure, I think from my understanding, the VSS signal from the countershaft speed sensor comes in through the harness right here, and then it goes into the ECU through B, and then it gets converted over to the correct frequency, comes out here, and then that's what the cluster is reading after being converted to have it correct on there after calibration. Another thing that I was told was this speed sensor uses 0.5 volts for the power, where the speed sensor in the back uses 12 volts. So that's not going to work out. If you keep the harness the same without switching out the power source, it will fry that speed sensor. What CJSWIRING told me was this is the junction box and the power wire for the speed sensor comes through here. What I need to do is check continuity to figure out which one here goes to VSS, and I have to tap it whether at the ECU or at the harness for the map sensor to draw the 0.5 volts that this guy needs. That's what Carlos told me based off his diagram, and that's how he does it. So that's what I'm gonna have to do. I spent a cool minute trying to find a pin to work on the B11, and I still don't have the right pin, but I have one in there that's pretty solid. I am in the engine bay side, and I'm trying to figure out which of these wires go to the VSS. So the VSS power wire is, you can't really see it, but it's a black yellow stripe. And for me to simply figure out where this wire is at, I unloomed it right here. This little bundle is what's going on the transmission for sensor wise. There's only probably about 6 wires in here, and there's only 2 that are black yellow. Now in the junction, there's a ton of wires going through it, right? So because I narrowed it down to these 2 wires right here, I took off the little junction like distributor jumper thing, and I'm gonna check continuity from the VSS wire on the plug to one of these 2 wires here. So right now it's on continuity. I'm gonna have one side on VSS plug black yellow, and then I'm gonna figure out which one of these 2 is that wire. So let me see here. This one, that will be the left wires. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna take it out of the 12-volt junction box, this thing right here. I'm gonna cut it right here, leaving enough to go back to this wire if I wanted to. I am gonna tape it up so it's not like shorting out anywhere. I'm gonna cut it here and use the back half that goes to the plug itself, and I'm gonna use this to bridge into the map sensor wiring, which is over here. The yellow red is the power for the map sensor, so I got to trace this yellow red. So this section of the harness only has 1 wire that is a yellow red stripe. The other yellow red stripe is in this section of the harness, which goes to the oil pressure sensor, and that is the reason why I tore the harness apart here, to eliminate getting the confusion with the other one. So I have the probe inside of this wire here, and then I'm going to take the other side to ensure we are obviously pinning the map sensor power wire right. You hear the beep. So I'm gonna go ahead and just splice this black yellow stripe, which goes to the VSS, into the map to draw that 0.5 volt it needs. Loom it up, and I think the next step would be the K-Pro ECU. So in order for you guys to use the countershaft speed sensor, you have to use Hondata V4. This is a V4 that I got installed from Hondata themselves. The V4 Hondata enables a vehicle speed output, kind of like a built-in speed converter in the V4, not the V3. So right now, this is the ECU from the wagon. I'm just gonna pull the map off of it just so I could save it, and then we're gonna load the CRX map just so we could make all the changes and everything for the speed. So now I'm gonna go ahead and open the map for this car, which I don't remember. Let's go by date modified 1311. So K20 tune on the 11th. I do have 440s. I'm gonna go ahead and just upload that to the ECU now. Now I'm gonna make the change for the speed sensor under miscellaneous. Normal speed sensor is the 0204. Countershaft driven speed sensor is what we're going to be using. So I'm going to go ahead and upload that. Okay, so now that's going to switch the map over to read the sensor that we're running on the transmission, the countershaft speed sensor. And then there's a calibration part that you have to do, which is, where is it at? Speed sensor correction right here at the very bottom. So in order to do the speedometer correction, you have to drive the car at a steady pace speed, and then you have to use a GPS to pretty much monitor how fast it's reading versus how fast it's reading on the K-Pro VSS parameter right here, right? VTech Academy said to take the 2 numbers, divide it, get the decimal, transfer to percentage, and then you enter the percentage in the correction, and then you upload the map. If it's reading dead on, you're good. If it reads off or on, you can add or minus percentage to get it to read very close or accurately. So I'm gonna have to do that right now. I'm gonna tinker with the engine bay a little bit more before it's ready for the road, and then maybe, just maybe, we'll try to calibrate it as well too. working like it should. Actually, it's not even working anymore. Oh, there it is. It was bouncing all crazy, maxing out on the gauge and everything, so I can't even get the calibration done. But I'm gonna hit the freeway anyways. The car feels really good. Guys, so we are back home, and the drive for the speedometer correction didn't go as planned. One, the freaking laptop died. Two, the freaking speed sensor on the cluster was bouncing around. It wasn't steady, so I couldn't even get a gauge on how fast the car was going to compare it to, you know, a GPS or something. So there's only a few possibilities. I mean, a lot of possibilities of why it's still doing that. One, the cluster can just be bad. Two, the wiring connection I did probably is wrong somewhere. Three, possibly the jumper to the VSS itself is flip-roo some way somehow. And the other possibility would be the sensor being broken from when I dropped the engine trying to put it into the car. I'm gonna have to go back to the drawing board and trace everything to figure out why the cluster is bouncing around, because I do definitely want the speed to work so we can clock mileage on this engine and also know how fast I'm going, right? Even though the drive didn't go how I planned it to go, the KRX drives really nice. Now, it does have a little sputtering issue because it is tuned for the 20 and not the 24. But aside from it, you know, having a little sputter in the beginning of the throttle, the car drives freaking awesome. But I must tell you guys one thing. The car is extremely loud. Just getting off the light, I got to keep it super low RPM and quickly get into the 6th gear to really keep it low at this time right now with a lot of, you know, them driving around. But I'm most definitely going to swap the muffler section of the exhaust out so we can get something very quiet on here, so I don't have to worry about that every time I drive this car on the street. The coolant's not leaking anymore at the billet housing. I had issues where it was leaking past the plug, so I had to take the thermostat off to weld it shut. This just kept leaking, the O-ring kept ripping, and I decided to just weld it shut since I'm not using that port anyways. So I had to take off the whole entire thing to weld it shut and then throw it back on the car. I rebled the system and then I took it for its drive. I drove the car probably about 15 miles looping the freeways on freeways until my exit, and the car mechanically sounds freaking amazing. I can't wait to get this car back up on the dyno, see what the 24 puts out over the 20. It's practically the same setup other than going from a 20 to a 24, but I'm really stoked to see this thing back up on the dyno, put some numbers down, and then really enjoy the car, really drive it. I want to take it down to SoCal. I haven't really spoke about it yet, but I'm probably going to be linking up with We F Shit Up on a pop-up meet. So maybe before or after this video, I don't know. You guys are gonna have to stay posted on the gram. I am gonna wrap up the video right here. Not much more I'm gonna do tonight. Hopefully before this video goes up, I'm able to roll the car out so we can take some shots with the wheels just to really show you guys how the car looks, because it looks freaking amazing. You guys can't see it because it's too damn dark, but you know what I'm saying? Oh my god, you guys gonna have to stay posted for possible photo shoot coming up here real soon. So that is going to be it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoy the progress update. Unfortunately, my speed sensor didn't work like I wanted to, but progress is better than no progress, so we'll definitely figure it out soon. Be sure to hit the like button, and if you guys want to stick around for more progress update on the KRX, be sure to hit the subscribe button. But with that being said, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.